Welcome back to my channel Liberty Old Coin everyone, to another exciting deep dive into the hidden treasures you might be walking past every single day. This is your host, and today we're going to be looking at something so small, it could easily slip through your fingers, yet it holds the power to completely change your financial future. First up, we have to understand that not all 5-cent coins are created equal, and the 1987 issue is a perfect example of that rule. This particular coin was struck during a time of transition at the Royal Australian Mint, which created a fascinating error that is now the holy grail for collectors. When you look at the back of your 5-cent coin, you'll see an echidna, Australia's famous spiny anteater, rolling into a ball for protection. But on some 1987 coins, this echidna is positioned just slightly higher on the coin than it should be. This is known as the high echidna variety, and it is the result of the mint phasing out an older design in favor of a newer one. For years, experts thought the high echidna had vanished from circulation after 1984, but a tiny number of them snuck into the 1987 mintage. This tiny detail, this little shift in position, is what separates a standard coin from a collector's dream. Now let's talk about why this coin was made in the first place, because understanding its birth is key to understanding its value. The 1987 5-cent piece was part of a massive production run by the Royal Australian Mint to meet the needs of the country's booming economy. In total, a staggering 73.5 million of these coins were produced, which is a huge number. With that many coins out there, you might think they are all worthless, but that's where you'd be wrong. You see, even in a massive production run, tiny mistakes can happen, and those mistakes become incredibly rare. The mint was using a new reverse die for the echidna, but for a very short period, an older die from previous years was mistakenly used. The result was a batch of coins where the echidna is literally in a different spot on the metal. This mistake happened so quickly and was corrected so fast that the high echidna 1987 coin is now one of the most sought-after modern errors in Australian history. And here is where the real magic begins, and where your perception of this coin needs to shift from pocket change to gold mine. The standard circulated 1987 5-cent coin you might find in your change is worth exactly 5 cents, but that is not the coin we are talking about. The coin we are looking for is a specific error that escaped the mint's quality control. The high echidna is so rare that some experts believe only a few thousand were ever released into circulation, possibly even less. Imagine finding a needle in a haystack, but that needle is made of pure gold. This is the kind of lottery ticket that doesn't cost you $1, it just requires a keen eye. So you're probably asking yourself, what is the maximum value for this specific coin? Well, hold on to your seats because the numbers are going to blow your mind. For a circulated 1987 high echidna 5-cent coin, you could easily get between $50 and $200 depending on its condition. But that is just the starting line. If you are lucky enough to find an uncirculated version, a coin that has never been used in a transaction and has its original mint luster, the value skyrockets. We are talking about a coin that could be worth over $500 in a high mint state grade like MS65. The true ceiling for this coin is astronomical. At a major auction, a perfect, flawless 1987 high echidna 5-cent piece could potentially sell for up to $1,500 or more to the right collector. But wait, we haven't even touched on the absolute king of the hill, the error that transcends all others. Beyond the high echidna, there is an even rarer breed of 1987 5-cent coin known as the double-headed error. This is exactly what it sounds like. A mistake at the mint led to a coin being struck with the Queen Elizabethii portrait on both the front and the back of the coin. Imagine flipping a coin and seeing the queen no matter which side lands up. These are the coins of legend. A genuine double-headed 1987 5-cent coin is so rare that it is valued at a staggering $500 to $2,500 for a single coin. These are the white whales of Australian coin collecting, and if you find one, you are holding a financial miracle. Now I want you to think about the history this coin has witnessed. Struck in 1987, it has been in circulation for nearly 40 years, passing through countless hands, sitting in piggy banks, rolling down gutters. This coin was born during the final years of the Cold War, and it has lived through the rise of the Internet, the turn of the millennium, and up to today. For nearly 4 decades, it has been waiting for the right pair of eyes to notice that its echidna is sitting just a millimeter higher than it should be. Your pocket change is not just metal, it is a time capsule, and the 1987 issue holds one of the most valuable secrets of the late 20th century. You might be asking yourself, why is this coin so valuable? Why would a mistake make it worth thousands of times more than its face value? The answer lies in the very nature of collecting. Rarity and demand are the twin engines of value. The 1987 5-cent coin is a perfect storm of both. It has a low supply because the error was quickly corrected, and it has incredibly high demand because every collector in Australia and around the world wants to complete their set with this legendary mistake. Collectors love stories, and the story of the high echidna is a fascinating tale of a last-minute die change that created a ghost in the system. This narrative, combined with the coin's genuine scarcity, makes it a must-have for anyone serious about Australian decimal coinage. Let's be clear about what we are looking for. You need to get a magnifying glass and look at the back of your 1987 5-cent coin. Look at the echidna and then look at the space between the designer's initials SD and the bottom rim of the coin. On a standard coin, there is a noticeable gap. On the ultra-rare high echidna variety, the initials are very close to the rim, and the whole animal looks like it is sitting higher up on the coin. That tiny gap, or lack thereof, is the difference between a cup of coffee and a payment on a new car. This is a detail that is invisible to the naked eye, which is why so many of these coins are still sitting in people's jars, completely unrecognized for their true potential. So what is the maximum price we can sell this for? Let's set the stage. A circulated, worn 1987 high echidna 5-cent coin will easily fetch $80 to $150 online. If you have a coin in uncirculated condition, meaning it has no wear and looks like it just left the mint, you are now looking at a price range of $300 to $700. But the record breaker, the coin that makes auction houses buzz, is the one graded MS65 or higher. These coins are virtually perfect and have the full, original mint luster. At a premium auction, one of these flawless 1987 high echidna 5-cent coins has the potential to sell for a jaw-dropping $1,500 to $2,000. And if, by some miracle of the universe, you find the double-headed error, that single coin could walk away for a life-changing $2,500 or more. Now, I know this sounds like a fantasy, but this is the reality of modern numismatics. The coin hobby is no longer just about ancient Roman artifacts or gold sovereigns. The most exciting and accessible treasure hunts are happening right now, in your own home, with the spare change in your drawer. The 1987 5-cent coin is proof that you don't need a metal detector on a beach to find treasure. You just need a keen eye and a little bit of knowledge. And that knowledge is what I am giving you right now. The value is there, the potential is real, and the only thing standing between you and a massive payday is your willingness to look. I want to stop and talk about the physical coin itself for a moment, because the details matter. This coin is 19.41 millimeters in diameter and weighs just under 3 grams. It is made of a copper-nickel alloy, which is why it has that distinctive silver color. On the front is the third portrait of Queen Elizabethii, designed by the brilliant sculptor Raphael Makhlouf. You can see his initials, RDM, inscribed on the Queen's neck. This portrait was only used from 1985 to 1998, So the 1987 coin sits right in the middle of that era. The combination of this specific portrait of a young Queen Elizabeth and the transitional era on the back creates a perfect storm of collectability. Every single detail, from the metal composition to the portrait style, adds a layer of history that collectors are willing to pay a premium for. So your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to check every single 1987 5-cent coin you come across. Do not spend them blindly. Put them aside in a safe place and examine them under a bright light. Look for that high-riding echidna and look for the initials SD hugging the bottom rim. This is a coin that has been hiding in plain sight for nearly 40 years, waiting for its value to be discovered. The rest of the world is slowly waking up to how rare and desirable this coin is, and the prices are only going to go up as more collectors enter the market. You are getting this information right now, at the perfect time, before the next big boom in Australian coin prices. The bottom line is that the 1987 Australian 5-cent elizabethii coin is a sleeping giant that has finally been recognized for its incredible value. It is a coin that tells a story of transition, error, and scarcity. It is a coin that connects us to a specific moment in Australian minting history, when a small oversight created a massive opportunity for those with a sharp eye. Do not underestimate the power of this tiny piece of metal. It is not just change, it is a potential windfall. The maximum value for a perfect, error-free high-grade example is in the thousands of dollars, a staggering return on an investment of just 5 cents. That is the kind of math that changes lives. Next coin, this is the coin vault. And today we are investigating a single coin that could be the most underrated piece of metal in your entire collection. We are talking about the 1988 Australian 5-cent piece featuring Queen Elizabeth II. And the story I am about to tell you might just convince you to never spend another 5-cent coin again. While most people overlook this tiny echidna coin, you are about to learn why it is a sleeping giant with the potential to deliver returns that far exceed anything you would get from a traditional savings account. First up, let's talk about the incredible history of this coin. The 1988 5-cent piece was struck at a pivotal moment in Australian history, the country's bicentennial year celebrating 200 years since the first fleet arrived. The Royal Australian Mint produced over 106 million of these coins for circulation, but the real treasure lies not in the sheer quantity, but in the fascinating errors and varieties that were accidentally created that year. This coin features the third portrait of Queen Elizabeth II designed by Raphael Makhlouf, with the iconic echidna on the reverse designed by Stuart Devlin, a design that has remained unchanged since the coin was first introduced in 1966. The echidna, one of only 2 egg-laying mammals in the world, is shown curled into a protective ball, and on certain 1988 coins, something went wonderfully wrong during the minting process. Now, what makes this coin potentially valuable is the existence of some truly spectacular error varieties from the 1988 mintage. The most common standard 1988 5-cent coin in circulated condition is only worth its face value of 5 cents, but that is not the coin we are chasing. The coin we are hunting is a rare error that could change your financial outlook overnight. The 1988 issue saw the production of a small number of coins that were accidentally struck on the wrong planchet, specifically on a 1-cent coin blank instead of the proper 5-cent blank. Imagine the surprise of finding a 5-cent design squeezed onto a smaller, copper-colored flan, a coin that was never supposed to exist. These wrong planchet errors are incredibly rare because they slip through quality control undetected, and when they are discovered, collectors go absolutely wild. Let me put some concrete numbers on the table so you understand exactly what we are dealing with. A standard uncirculated 1988 5-cent coin in perfect mint state condition can fetch between $1 and $10 depending on its grade, but that is just the appetizer. The real main course is the error coins. A professionally graded 1988 5-cent coin struck on a 1-cent planchet recently sold for a staggering $2,500. That is right. A single 5-cent piece sold for $2,500, which represents a return of 50,000 times its face value. If that does not make you want to check every coin in your pocket, I do not know what will. But the true crown jewel of the 1988 5-cent series is something far more elusive. I am talking about the 1988 Cook Islands Mule Error, a coin that combines the obverse of a Cook Islands 5-cent piece with the reverse of an Australian 5-cent piece. This bizarre hybrid was created when the wrong die pair was loaded into the minting press, and the result is a coin that reads Elizabethii Cook Islands on one side while displaying the Australian echidna on the other. Only 2 examples of this coin are known to exist in the entire world, earning it the highest possible rarity rating of R7, which means 3 or less examples are known to exist. The value of such a unique piece is almost impossible to calculate, but experts believe it could easily command $5,000 to $10,000 or more at a major auction. This is the kind of coin that makes numismatic history. Now, you might be wondering why a coin with such a high mintage could ever be considered valuable. The answer lies in the fact that most of those 106 million coins were heavily circulated, worn down, and lost over the past 38 years. The number of pristine, uncirculated examples still in existence is far smaller than you might think. Furthermore, the error coins represent a tiny fraction of that total mintage, with the wrong planchet errors numbering only in the dozens or low hundreds. As more collectors enter the market and more of these error coins are discovered, the demand will inevitably drive prices higher. The 1988 5-cent coin is currently undervalued compared to its potential, and savvy collectors are taking notice. Let's discuss the current market value in more detail so you know exactly what to expect. A circulated 1988 5-cent coin with no errors is worth exactly 5 cents, so do not get too excited about those. An uncirculated example in Mint State 63 grade can sell for around $1 to $2, while a gem quality example graded MS 65 can bring $7 to $10. The proof version of the 1988 5-cent coin, struck specifically for collectors with a special polished finish, can sell for $15 to $30. These are solid returns for a coin that costs you nothing to find. But the real jackpot is the error coins. The wrong planchet error we discussed earlier is firmly in the $2,000 to $3,000 range, and the Cook Islands Mule is in a league of its own, potentially worth 5 figures to the right buyer. Now, what about the future potential of this coin? Could it become even more valuable as time goes on? The answer is a resounding yes. The 1988 5-cent coin is still relatively unknown to the general public, which means there is massive room for price appreciation as awareness grows. The bicentennial connection gives it historical significance that will only increase with each passing anniversary. The error coins are genuine rarities that become more sought after every year as the collector base expands. I firmly believe that within the next decade, a high-grade wrong planchet 1988 5-cent coin could easily surpass $5,000, and the Cook Islands Mule could break the $20,000 barrier. This is not speculation. This is a pattern we have seen time and time again in the numismatic world. Consider the physical details of this coin, because understanding what you are looking for is half the battle. The coin weighs 2.83 grams and measures 19.41 millimeters in diameter. It is composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving it that distinctive silver color. The obverse features the crowned bust of Queen Elizabeth II facing right, with the designer's initials RDM for Raphael Makhlouf inscribed on the Queen's neck truncation. The reverse shows the echidna with the number 5 and the word cents below it, with the designer's initials SD for Stuart Devlin hidden in tiny letters near the numeral. Knowing these specifications will help you identify any anomalies that could signal an error coin. The 1988 coin also holds a special place in Australian numismatic history, because it was produced during the transition from older minting technology to newer, more automated processes. This transitional period is famous for producing errors and varieties that were quickly corrected, making the few surviving error coins extremely desirable. The wrong planchet errors from 1988 are particularly fascinating because the 1-cent coin blanks were made of a different alloy, meaning these error coins have a distinctly different color and weight than standard 5-cent pieces. If you ever find a 5-cent coin that looks slightly off in color or feels lighter than usual, you might just be holding a $2,500 treasure. Let me give you some actionable advice for finding these valuable coins. First, check every 1988 5-cent coin you come across, and I mean really look at them. Examine the color, the weight, the diameter, and the overall condition. Second, pay attention to any coins that seem unusual, such as those with off-center strikes, double images, or planchet defects. Third, never clean your coins, as cleaning can destroy their numismatic value. Fourth, if you think you have found an error coin, have it authenticated and graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC, as certified coins command much higher prices than raw ones. The small investment in grading could pay off with a huge return when you sell. Now you might be asking yourself, how high can the maximum value of this coin go? Let me paint a picture for you. The highest recorded sale for a 1988 Australian 5-cent error coin to date is $2,500 for the wrong planchet example we discussed. However, that is just one sale, and the market for error coins has been heating up rapidly. In the next 5 to 10 years, I can see a perfect, flawless 1988 wrong planchet error, graded MS65 or higher, selling for $5,000 to $7,000. The Cook Islands mule, with its legendary status and only 2 known examples, could easily sell for $15,000 to $20,000 at a major auction house like Heritage or Stack's Bowers. And if a third example never surfaces, the value of the existing 2 will only climb higher as collectors compete to own a piece of minting history. Think about the journey this coin has taken since it was struck in 1988. It has witnessed the fall of the Berlin Wall, the rise of the internet, the invention of the smartphone, and the dawn of cryptocurrency. For 38 years, it has been sitting in piggy banks, coin jars, and cash registers, waiting for someone like you to recognize its true potential. The coin that someone else considered too insignificant to save could be the coin that pays for your next vacation, a new appliance, or even a significant chunk of your child's education. That is the power of numismatic knowledge, turning pocket change into life-changing money.